Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Dallas in the house, everybody. Everything RV news. So if you have a question for him here on Telegram, feel free to raise your hand and I will unmute your mic and you can ask Dallas your question at some point in this podcast. Or if you can't speak here on Telegram or on X Live and Rumble, write your questions, everybody, down in the comment area so I can read your question to Dallas also at some point in this podcast. Everybody, too, please be careful who you listen to, who you follow, what you're putting in your mind. We just spoke about that a little bit with John Baxter on my show a few minutes ago. It's a thing, and I say it because I want to protect you guys. Because there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, just a lot of crap going on out there, everybody. So please be careful. I say it for a reason. And I hope that you guys all pay attention to that because there's a lot of scams out there, buddy. I mean, even to the point where people are making up fake stories just to get on a podcast. So that just goes to show you how creative these people are getting, or maybe not so creative. That just is kind of dumb. They think we're really dumb. Like we can't read through a story and, see that it's bullshit. So anyway, just be careful, everybody. Also, too, we are being listened to in over 100 countries, everybody. It's actually 150 countries. So we are making a lot of great noise here at the Revival of America. So please, if you guys come in late to this podcast or you want to share it with a family or friend, feel free to follow the podcast on the podcast host or my social medias, which are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, PocketCast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. Social medias are Jenny Dreed Facebook at Jenny_Dreed X, at JJReed Rumble, at JJReed True Social, at JJReed Instagram, the Revival of America over right here on Telegram, and then the Revival of America over on YouTube. Also, everybody, I'm centralizing my emails to the Revival of America at yahoo.com. It's easier for me to just read them, all the emails there, get back to you instead of going back and forth to all these different messaging areas. So please, the Revival of America at yahoo.com. If you have a question for me about any of my guests, please send them all there. When it comes to your submissions and journeys, stories, please put them over to TROA submissions at yahoo.com because it's easier for me to get your stories there, for me to read through them. I do vet through them. And if I believe it's a legitimate story, I'll reach back out to you via email. But some of you are sending them to the Revival of America at yahoo.com and they're getting buried. So again, send them to TROA submissions at yahoo.com and I will get to you as soon as I can and get your voice, your story heard on the podcast because everybody, your voices matter and it's going to be your voice, your story that's going to help shape this new world that we're coming into, guys. And we're coming into this new world pretty rapidly. So I hope everybody's ready, getting educated on what's to come, especially when it comes. We just talked about it with John Baxter, the medical world, the finance world, the government, everything. It's going to change, everybody. Everything is going to change. So please, everybody, be mindful of that and just know that you guys are ahead of the game if you're listening to people like Dallas, John Baxter, Captain Kyle, Derek Johnson. We are in front of it, everybody. So be excited about that because you're getting a lot of great information from all of my guests. And I know many of my guests go elsewhere and do podcasts. So they're giving it to you guys. They're giving you the truth. So stick with it, guys, because we're going to get you over this hump. I promise. I was going to say something else. Oh, I wanted to have everybody there with Field McConnell. It was a little bit premature. He was supposed to be on today, but I did speak to his daughter yesterday, and I think they want to take a little bit more time in his healing process, which is fine with me because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything, right? So I want him to be 100%. I know he's ready to come back. When I spoke to him last week, he sounded great, but I think obviously, his family wants him to just take a little bit more time for himself and get 100% healing better. So I'm cool with that. But once he comes back, obviously I'll keep you guys posted. Derek Johnson, keep him in your prayers. He and his family. Obviously, he's grieving the loss of his father. Was his best friend, and he will be back soon. I don't know when. It could be next week. It could be the week after. But I am in support of him 100%, taking this time to be with his family and grieve his father. So horrible loss there, guys. Very, very sad. Captain Kyle, everybody, keep him in your prayers as well. He was in the ER. He had some, he wasn't feeling very good. I think some stomach issues. So please, again, sounds like he's doing better. But he'll be back as soon as obviously he feels better as well. But prayers up, everybody, for all of our warriors out there, and obviously for yourselves and the family members. But uh, yeah, just wow, we're getting hit pretty hard with a lot of our warriors out there not hanging out with us for a little bit. But they'll be back, guys. But just keep those prayers up because they are working. And without further ado, as SG and on would say, Dallas is in the house. What's up, my friend?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. That's man, that is some heartbreaking news, especially Derek's dad. I had not heard that, so I'm glad I got it here.
Oh, about
But
Derek?
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a
But
couple weeks. Yep.
okay. Well, obviously prayers out, but there's a whole lot of the enemy is attacking, which if you know anything about spiritual warfare, when the enemy doesn't mess with you, then that means you're not really making an impact. You're not really on the right track. You're not going down the right path. But when you are, then the enemy throws all kinds of stuff at you. And, Captain Kyle, obviously, all the others, just being under the weather, being ill. I know Chaz had another death in his family last week.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, he was at a funeral. That's why we replayed Thursday and Friday shows, because he had a funeral to attend. But um, it it kind of tells me that we're coming to the end of this chapter. It's not the end of the book, and it's really kind of the beginning of a new book. but um, I think things are starting to ramp up. I Not to be cryptic or aloof, but I think the next month, between now and July 4th, I think a whole lot of things are going to change. Or I'm hoping. No, let me put it that way. And I'm not even talking about the RV side. I'm talking geopolitically. As far as exposure, transparency, accountability, arrests. I think we're going to see a lot of it I'm hoping we see a lot of it in the next 30 days leading up to July 4th. So. But my heart and my prayers go out to those that are hurting.
Oh, thank you, Dallas. Yeah, I agree with you. I do believe it's going to start ramping up between now and the fourth. And then, everybody, when we're on the other side of this, our work is just beginning because we have a lot of cleanup. And as we know, our world is changing in front of us. I mean, look at what our great president is doing down there in DC. He's cleaning it up. It's looking great again. And, our foods are changing. It's, these cures and stuff for the big C word are coming out like left and right, where before, like, it was such a bad thing to talk about. They would suppress it so hard, but it's changing, everybody. So stay focused on the positive, stay out of the noise. But I do believe with Tina Peters, God bless her soul, thank God she is out. With her being out, and then Gabby, Tulsi Gabbard, she's gonna go out with a bang, everybody. She's not leaving the administration without laying down the hammer. So I think we are going to see some great things up to July 4th and then further on into it. So get ready, guys, because remember, as Juan always says, 2020, it's not over yet. And it's not, guys. This whole thing with Tina Peters and what Tulsi's about to drop. And then who knows? I'm hearing some stuff about an executive order that Donald Trump could sign due to the election, some type of an emergency dealio when it comes to our elections. So we saw prime example last night. The corruption is still there with Karen Bass and Spencer Pratt. We know he didn't lose that, but again, it's just more exposure, everybody, to show how again deep the corruption is. It's still there. These demons need to go bye bye. But the good thing with Spencer Pratt and that whole thing is he's moving on to the elections for November, and we got that other demon rat out of there. But this is going to give him 5 more months of showing us those great videos he's putting out. That's just crushing Karen Bass. So again, it's exposure at its finest, right, Dallas?
Yeah, and I mean there are others that are on their way out too that I think are gonna, you know, go down swinging. So I think we're in for a uh, pretty raucous ride.
I agree. And so everybody I know is dying to know what Dallas has because everybody knows Dallas was going to be with us last week, as I said in the last show. But he wanted to wait till this week because he was hopefully going to get some good information. Sounds like he may have. I'm going to let him share that with you, everybody. And then everybody, please, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. There is not a dumb question. We are here for you. And we're here for you. So please feel free to raise your hand or write your question in the comment box, and I will read those to Dallas. And go ahead, my friend. What you got for us?
Well, I don't have the hard confirmation that I was hoping to have, but
Well,
um,
shit.
but I will say this, and it I'm going to say it the same way it was said to me, and then I'm going to let you know what's gone through my brain in the last 24 hours. Right? I was invited to an event at the beginning of July, the first week of July. And I immediately said, well, I would love to attend, but finances are really, really tight. Like they're tighter now than they probably have ever been. And I've been pretty tight before, but, and the response was, I don't think you'll need to worry about that. And I went, oh, okay, well then
Okay.
sure. I would, yeah, I would love to come. Right. Um, well, I've now spent, 24 hours pondering that response to me. And I was like, wait, if I'm not gonna have to worry about finances, that's only a month from now. Like, oh my gosh, right? So, what I was waiting on last week was confirmation that the money did physically become liquid at the top. It, of course, did not happen last week. One more delay, right? They moved money into the central banks, and there was still some corruption. They locked that down, and they reset it, right? So everything is signed, everything is done, all the contracts are in, all the paperwork is signed, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. Monday was a big national holiday in all of Europe this week. So this last 2 days ago. So money could have moved on Monday, but there was no way to access it, right? So yesterday was really kind of the, hey, can anybody draw money out? Again, I don't have hard confirmation, but that without hard confirmation, that statement was said to me. So I'll let you infer whatever you'd like to from that. But I do believe that money is finally moving at the top, at the highest levels. And which means not tier 4B, not notifications, not RV appointments. That we're still a little ways away from that, but I do believe that liquidity has taken place at the highest level. So we're talking about sovereigns, we're talking about royals, we're talking about governments, we're talking about the elder families, the dragon families. Some of not even all of them, but some of them at the highest levels. There have been contracts that have been ready to go since 2015. Those contracts are not you and I. Right? Those are not normal people. Those aren't even large groups, right? Like, we all know of different groups around, and, the Admirals group is probably the one is the most well known within, the RV or the tier 4B, group. They're not considered into that category, right? So we're talking about the tippity top of this whole thing. As that money becomes liquid, it then gets injected into the system and it flows downhill, right? So last week I was really, really excited because I had been told. I found out that it did not happen, but they know what it was, right? They know immediately they found the problem, they fixed it, they solved it, and that there was a whole lot of hope for this week. We are coming up into July 4th. I no longer believe in backdates because, well, we've gone through hundreds of them and they've never held up. But I do know that Trump is putting a lot of emphasis on the next 30 days. Right? We have the UFC thing on the 14th, which is next Sunday. We have a big speech that's apparently slated for the 24th of June, which ironically is exactly 10 days before July 4th. And then I know that he's putting a whole lot of emphasis on the July 4th, 250th anniversary of our country. So as tight as that window seems to be, I do very much expect for us to actually see and start hearing of some legitimate liquidity events, right? There's a whole lot of chatter and whatever have you out there that so and so went to the redemption center and got paid. I'm just here to tell you that none of that is true. No individual has been paid. No individual, if they got paid, they sold their currency for a fraction of the price and they got some money, right? But they did not go in and get a full blown redemption or RV. But I'm very optimistic. And again, I shared the little story, got invited to an event. I was like, man, I would love to. I don't have the money. And I was told emphatically, I don't think you have to worry about that. So that gave me pause for excitement. And I hope that gives you guys pause for excitement too. Because, again, we're talking about the same time frame that first week in July. So.
Oh, wow, that's exciting. Yeah, I do agree with you with Donald Trump and what he's doing with all the UFC and then that whole concert thing. These cowards backed out of it, but I think what I'm hearing is that's going to turn into a rally with that concert that he was supposed to have, and that everybody was backing out except for I think Vanilla Ice.
And the surviving member of Milli Vanilli, because one of them.
Yeah, there you go. So that could people are saying that could possibly turn into a Trump rally. So that would be super cool. But no, I'm right there with you. I agree. We're pushing forward to the July 4th, guys. And that's what I'm saying. Things are moving pretty rapidly. So, guys, Dallas is here for us. He typically gives us 90 minutes. So let's go with these questions because I know many of you have reached out to me asking about Dallas, if he's coming back, if he's still on the show. He's here, so let's ask these questions. So I've got a couple here on Telegram that have raised their hands, and then we are streaming live through Rumble and X. Dallas, I don't know if you knew that or not, but we'll get some questions over there. So
Awesome.
go ahead, Prayer Warrior. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Prayer Warrior. Your mic is unmuted.
Sorry, I accidentally hit it. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Grandmother of Five.
Hey, good.
Hello.
I got off my lawnmower just to listen to y'all. So, Dallas, I was wanting to tell you one thing. I don't know, several months ago, I had told you about the calculator, the converter.
Yeah.
And the Bolivar, of course, is staying up continuously. But the other day, I went over to check it because I hadn't in quite a while. Well, I put in $2 million for Dong, and it came up $7,000 and something. So, but then I tried it again a couple of days ago, and it's back to $190. So every once in a while you'll catch it, and it's actually converting it. And the other thing I wanted to say, of course, is that a lot of people, and I mean, I've seen several different ones with me looking and everything, is talking about this 24th deal and the EBS or EAS, whatever you want to call it, that it going live at that time through the 4th, the 24th through the 4th, I guess. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. And at the same time, I'd wonder too, man, with all these people canceling out on Trump, what if he ended up bringing back some of the ones that are supposedly dead to do concerts? I think that would be super great. But I feel like a lot of people would think, well, this is somebody imitating these people.
Yeah.
not realize what was actually going on. But anyway, what's your thoughts on all of that?
I do believe, and I'm pretty confident that they've been testing, different rates on the Forex and stuff, and working, pushing the system and making sure that it's working correctly and registering. There's a whole lot of chatter about the new USN has been on the Forex on a private, kind of need to know or able to know basis for the last, almost 2 weeks now, which is a huge piece of it. You and I can't see it, but what I'm told is bankers that have the right code to put in to be able to access it, they've been able to see it, and it had a 72-hour testing period, and it stayed on this time. They tried to do it two or 3 weeks ago, and it didn't make the 72 hours, but they did it again early last week, I believe, or kind of the end of the week before that, and it made it through the 72 hours. So I think that's what you're seeing on the calculator part. I have heard a ton of chatter about the 24th announcement. I mean, we all kind of read the same things probably, but it is 10 days before the 4th, and it kind of makes sense. But I had not thought about the concert, but it is weird to me that there's a new documentary coming out about Michael Jackson. There's all these documentaries that have come out in the last 6 months or so about some of these artists that have gone away, or committed suicide or died mysteriously, and I just find that interesting, right? I mean, the TV, the movies, they have to disclose the truth, and I think that they're tied together. I had not even contemplated that, but you and I and those that know would be like, holy crap, that's really Michael Jackson. But if nothing else, it would absolutely get the attention of the world. So that would be very interesting. I would tune in for that. I'll tune into it no matter what, but I would definitely tune into that.
Did that answer your question, Mother of Five?
Yes, ma'am. I just I was being quiet because I figured there was others waiting. I appreciate it though, and not just and the 30th is my birthday, so that would be,
Well, happy early birthday.
Well, hopefully I hear you again before the end of the month. I'm getting old, Dallas.
Well, you still have mowing your grass. You ain't that old.
Yeah, but I don't run the weed eater. All right, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, here's one for you from Corey SVX over on Rumble. It says, how would you have purchased all these special bonds these whales possess?
Through mediators and through intermediaries and special contracts, and that's the thing that people are missing, is that these people that are getting liquidity hopefully this week, they all have contracts. They all have gone through a very lengthy and extensive contracting process, a vetting process, a verification process of the bonds, of the antiquities, of the artifacts. They have SKRs, which are safekeeping receipts. I mean, they've jumped through so many hoops to even be considered to be a part of this process. But that happens at the very highest levels. You have to know, first of all, you have to know people that have the assets, right, and that are willing to sell them, and then you have to go through the process. I mean, I have fortunately been given kind of an inside view of some of those procedures, and the process. The process is what I was looking for, and it's very extensive, which leads me to believe that maybe the RV process isn't going to be quite as simple and as readily accessible to everybody as we kind of have been led to believe, including myself, because a lot of this stuff, I mean, a lot of these currencies, they're still sovereign. Some of them are still, at least in the financial world, are still under restrictions and things like that. So I'm still waiting to get some hard confirmation, but I just want to encourage people to be patient, and not jump, immediately. Just take a day or two if you hear something, because we need to make sure that the process is going to function the way that we've all been led to believe, because It leads me to believe, just because of how hard it has been to get money released and liquid at the very top, it is causing me a little bit of hesitation as far as believing that, we're all going to be able to walk in and throw down a big old stack of foreign currency and then immediately walk out with gajillions of dollars. But I still think it's going to happen. I just don't know if it's going to happen exactly the way that we think. But that's still up in the air.
In your opinion, Dallas, how do you think that could transpire?
Well, the
Sorry,
truth
big
is,
question.
no, I mean, the truth is, and this is what I've kind of avoided talking about for the last several months. The truth is, I think we're all going to have to find a vetted legal group and join that group and go through this process. So we're going to have to, have our currencies verified. We're going to have SKRs, or safekeeping receipts, generated, and things like that. I don't think we're going to necessarily be able to walk in and just throw a bunch of currency on the counter and expect it to go super fast, right? I mean, we've been told for years now that, there's 15, 20 minutes in and out, bang, 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 bang. I don't see how that's possible with what I've learned about how hard this process really is at the highest level. And why would it be so hard at the highest level and then so easy at the bottom, right? It doesn't necessarily make sense. So I think we're going to probably have to find a group. There are many, right? And there are several. There are some that are not legit, never have been. There are some that, people gave their currencies to in the hopes of being a part of humanitarian projects, and they got an SKR receipt, but on the SKR receipt, because I've seen them, it says donation. Well, that means they own the currency, they control it, and they are no longer obligated to give you anything, right? So we got to find some groups that are vetted, that are legal, that are registered, that are verifiable, and go through that process. But I'm not ready to make that a hard claim or statement yet. But when the time is right and I can validate and verify, then I will definitely do that. And this is one of the platforms that it will happen on. So just know that.
Okay, awesome. I was going to ask you that you would let us know the vetted ones and everything. And okay, cool. Now, what about, so we would probably see maybe these not legitimate pieces of currency. Would it be more like people purchased them from, like, I mean, if you went to Bank World Note, if you went to all these other places that are like legitimate, you're probably safe to say that your currency is legit.
Yeah, I honestly don't think that the counterfeit aspect of this is going to be a big deal. The part that is becoming apparent to me is that there is an established process for exchanging and redeeming currency and bonds and all that stuff. The other part, so to answer that question, I don't think the counterfeit is going to be a big issue. They're going to verify, they're going to validate, but it's the process, right? It's the SKR process. It's the contracting process. It's getting into one of these groups that have already been vetted and have already gone through the process to conduct these transactions, because somebody has to buy it, right? And somebody has to be willing to pay for it, and that's the question. Who's going to buy it? And I have been told that I know who that is, but who's going to buy it, and what are they going to be willing to pay for it? Like that's the question. It's not really, on Forex it's $8.30. Okay, well that's great, but if the buyer isn't willing to pay $8.30 and they're only willing to pay $2.50, are you going to take the $2.50, or are you going to get mad and throw a fit and cause a problem? Because the reality is, we have been told, and I believe this to be true, that if redemption centers are true and real, and we go through that process, if you get pissed and you start throwing a fit, they're going to remove you from their premises, and they're going to confiscate your currency. I've been notified of several instances on a very high level where currency was confiscated because it was not, it wasn't processed the correct way. So I don't want to put fear in people's minds and hearts. I just want people to be open to the fact that the system and the process might turn out to be a little bit different. There's going to be a way, but it might be a little bit different than we originally thought and we originally were told. And the reason I say that is because what I have learned specifically over the last 6 months to a year is that there's a whole lot of verbiage and there's a whole lot of language that has been commingled between the bond and antiquity market and the free currency market. And those words are not necessarily interchangeable. But that's what's happened, right? So, revaluation and redemption and contracts and things like that, revaluation, those words belong into one category, but not necessarily into the other, but they have been commingled, which has, I don't believe intentionally, right? I don't think that this ever happened on purpose, but I think it has absolutely muddied the waters on how this process is really going to play out. So I just want people to be a little bit open-minded, and when it can be verified and validated, then it will be shared. The problem is that even within our movement, we have become very fractured and very combative. If you follow, Iraqi Guru X, and they say one thing, and then somebody else says something contrary, well, then it becomes this big battle of like who's right and who's wrong. It happens to me all the time, right? I'll say something, and then immediately on the next Mark Z show, there's 4 or 5 people that are like, Dallas said this. What do you think? Well, what is Mark going to say? Because Mark doesn't talk to the same people I do, and I don't talk to the same people he does. We have some that I have learned over the last 4 or 5 years are similar, but the majority of them are very different, right? I mean, the groups and the people we're talking to. So if I get a set of information and he doesn't get it, well, it doesn't mean that mine is wrong and his is right, or his is right and mine is wrong. It just means we're getting information from 2 different sources, right? So I just want to encourage people to be a little bit open-minded as we get to the end of this, and we potentially get to the process where we actually get to take part in this, that if some alternatives are presented, if it registers with you and if it resonates and it feels and it sounds and feels right, well, then go with it. If it doesn't, that's perfectly cool too. But just, don't dismiss something because it's different, right? I said something last week on PPN, and I said, I realized I'm the only one saying this. And then a bunch of people chimed in, yeah, you're an idiot. Well, okay. I might be, or I might be the one that actually got the right information, and I'm not making that claim. I'm just saying you should be open to hear different points of view and then make an educated decision. And, when I come, I'm going to bring proof. I'm going to bring legitimate sites and websites and EIL numbers and things that can be verified and looked up and validated to know that I'm not talking shit, that I'm not just scamming you to get you to send currency here or do this or do that. I am trying to direct you to the place that I believe is going to be the most legit, viable option for this to take place. Because what I've also learned in the last 3 months is that, and we've all known this, right? Like this is part of this, accepting different information. We've always known that the RV was never meant for us. The GCR, the Global Currency Reset, the RV, it was never meant for us. And when I mean us, I mean the general public, right? What we refer to as Tier 4B, the internet group. We were never supposed to know anything about any of this stuff. We weren't supposed to know about the bonds. We weren't supposed to know about the antiquities. We weren't supposed to know about the golden eagles and the golden guns. We weren't supposed to know about the Iraqi dinar, because that was only supposed to be for the elites and the top brass, and they were going to get rich and just rule over us even harder. But it got out, right? And there are still factions as recently as last week that don't want this to take place because they are deathly afraid of everyday average Joe Americans having enough money to make a difference, right? Whether that be locally, in your county, in your city, in your state, heaven forbid, federally, right? Like, what if all of us could dump some money into the guy in California, right? I mean, that's legal. That happens all the time. What if the average Joe Schmo American all across the country, everybody contributed $1,000 to his campaign, and all of a sudden now he's got all this money and he can combat the fraud that's taking place around him, right? They are afraid of that because there are still those that have enough influence and enough power. And we've watched it through these midterms. We've watched it happen over and over and over again, even in this most recent election. And they do not want that. And they are trying everything in their power to restrict or forbid us from doing it. So we just have to figure out how to work around that because there are always workarounds. And so I want to encourage people to be willing to hear some alternative options and some alternative points of view. Does that make sense, Jenny?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I think through the course of this entire movement, whether it be about the RV, XRP, whatever it is, everybody needs to have that open mind because as we've seen through this movement, things have changed and shifted quite a bit. But at the end of the day, a lot of positive things we're seeing, everybody. So yeah, no, I agree with you 100%.
Awesome.
So I want to, you're talking about giving, hope and, good news. And I have a gentleman here on Telegram. He just put on here, Brian's farm. He says, stopped at the bank today. And as I left, I said, new banking system is up. And they said, yes. So it sounds like the banks are acknowledging that the new banking system is up. So that's great news. And everybody too, we've always been told that, these systems, these banking systems that have been running simultaneously together, because you got to think about it. They've been working on this stuff, not just since yesterday, they've been working on it for a while, because if they do have to turn that switch off, they have to be able to turn it back on and we're over on something else. Otherwise, I mean, we would be screwed, right? We have to know that they've been working on this for a long time. So thank you, Brian, for sharing that. I appreciate it. Okay, here we go. Here's from Renee a question. It says, is the HCL set to be signed? Does that have to be done before we go RV?
Man, information come out of Iraq is so random and so sporadic. I believe that it is tied to it. I no longer believe that it is a hard line in the sand that has to be completed before things roll forward. They've been selling and transporting oil through Turkey and through the Kurdish region for almost a year now, right? So the whole point of the HCL was, well, they can't transport or sell oil through the Kurdistan region without the HCL. Well, they've been doing it for a year. So one begs the question, has the HCL been signed and just not made public? Or is it really not that big of a deal, right? I mean, I think it is a big deal in the bigger scheme of things. But, is it that drop dead or that hard line in the sand? Well, obviously not, right? Because they, like I said, they've been selling and transporting oil through the Kurdistan region for almost a year now. So I think it's an important part for the Iraqi people. I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with the bigger picture. What I think is more prevalent to the Iraqi dinar is the fact that Iraq is the sovereign nation now, and the central bank of Iraq control all of the currency within, not within Iraq, but they control all the dinar. So how are we going to redeem our dinar if we do not have access to a sovereign contract, right? And that's one of those hiccups that I foresee potentially being a hurdle that we got to figure out how to overcome or go around. Are there ways around it? Yes, absolutely. But are we going to be able to do that if we just walk into a redemption center or a bank? I think that's going to be a little harder, right? Because we don't have the right contract. We don't have the right process in place. to do that. So that's what I'm saying. I think there's going to be some changes, some alterations in how this whole process is going to work. I also am pretty confident that it's not going to be a flip the switch and everything goes. I think it's going to be more of a slower rollout where this currency and this currency might go, and then maybe in a few days or a week, a couple more currencies go. I have a feeling it's going to be more of that kind of a process as opposed to cool redemption. You got your notification, take everything in, and they're going to redeem everything at one time, because it's a very complicated process from what I'm learning.
Thank you, Dallas. Okay, here's one from Corey Stilson. And everybody here, come on Telegram. Come on, you guys. Dallas is here. You've been asking where he's at. He's here. So raise your hand, ask some questions, or over on X Live or Rumble, type your questions in the comment area. I will read them to him. So here's one from Corey Stilson. Question: are you hearing anything about the new banking system and added benefits they will offer us as far as making our money work better for us? We know everything is done, waiting for it to be released. Thank you. You guys rock.
Yeah, I was going to tie it into what the last story that you read. The thing that happened last week is they released the money into the central banking system, and the central bank bigwigs freaked out because they were like, "Wait, this is really happening? Oh my gosh!" And they weren't ready. Right? The banks of the United States, God bless them, they have been fighting against this the whole time because they thought it was legitimately a conspiracy theory. They're like, "Oh, this new system's not really coming. We're not really going asset backed. We're not really going tokenization. We're not really going digital." And then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, here we go." And they're like, whoa, we're not ready. So that's what happened last week, right? They put money in the central bank, and the central banking system freaked out because they're like, "Wait, this is real?" So I think that story is 100% accurate, and that they have been starting to get notifications at the upper levels of the banks, and it's starting to make its way down the chain of like, "Hey, this is real. We got to start preparing you, and we got to start training you on this new system." We are going tokenized, right? Whether we like it or not, whether you're ready for it or not, we are going tokenized. They're tokenizing, or they're digitizing and tokenizing everything, every asset on the planet, including things that you wouldn't think you can tokenize, right? But homes and farmland and agriculture and oil and all that stuff. And so banks are no longer going to be where we go to beg, borrow, and steal money, right? Banks are going to be where we go to execute transactions, or they're going to be a mechanism that we use to execute transactions. We have smart contracts coming and things like that, to where you pull up the contract on a new home. It's a smart contract. You go through it, you digitally sign it, and boom, it's done. And then you digitally transfer the funds, and boom, it's done. The banks are going to be there to help us with money management and wealth accumulation and things like that, but they're no longer going to be the instruments of debt that they have been for the whole world.
So this is where everybody comes into where you're going to have those smart contracts peer to peer. This is where we're going to see a lot of the middleman eliminated, in the sense of we don't need them anymore. I can go to Dallas, I can purchase a home from him, and the transaction can go like this real quickly. It's a peer-to-peer contract between myself and Dallas. We're not going to need the real estate agents, the mortgage brokers, the title agencies, and all the BS in between, right? Because those are all those fee collectors, and that's the middleman that they're trying to eliminate. So when I say our workforce is going to change significantly, it's going to change significantly. So because we don't need them. We don't need to pay all these extra fees when I can go to Dallas and say, hey, I want to purchase your house. Give me a good price. We agree on it. Boom. Just like that. And that if you're doing it with, like, say, crypto, I mean, that transaction can occur just like that. Correct?
Instantaneous. Yes.
Yeah, so that's huge. That's going to make our lives much easier, and we're going to save a lot of money, guys. So that's exciting. Real quickly, and then we got a couple questions. I'll go here to on Telegram. My question to you, and I've been asked this question about our current currency. We're going to have to go in at some point and exchange that for the new currency, because obviously we know a lot of our currency we use now has been linked to a lot of nefarious stuff. Let's just say that. So What can you say on that? Because what are we gonna have to? Aren't we gonna have to go in and exchange our current currency for the new?
Yeah, because our current currency is based on nothing, right? I mean,
Yeah,
the estimated value of a dollar today is about 3 cents, right?
correct.
It is worth nothing, and they just print more, right? They just the Treasury and whoever make those decisions. Just put in a bid for like another 1.8 trillion dollars of currency to be printed. Why? We don't have anything to back it up with, right? I mean, it's worth nothing. Um, we are going to need to, exchange it. But I've also been told that like that process is probably going to be a 1 to 3 year process. So it's not like, oh, if you don't take your $20 bills that you have, stashed under your mattress in your house in the next 6 weeks, you're just SOL, right? It's going to be a process. This happened back, I think, in 2009 when they kind of reissued or redesigned, the 20s and I think the 5, the 10, the 20s, and the hundreds. Well, that process took almost a year, right? But when you got that first $20 bill or that first $100 bill, and you're like, what kind of monopoly money crap is this? Like, I don't want that. Take it back. I want real money, right? They didn't even tell us, right? I mean, they probably did, but nobody listened. So we're going to go through that same process again. But I'm being told that it's probably a 1 to 3 year, time frame.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, let's go, Trump train. Your mic is unmuted. Trump
Hey, hey,
train. Are you there, Trump train?
Well, hi.
what's up, brother?
Not much, brother Dallas. I don't have no 20s under my mattress. You saw what I've got, brother. In relation to grandmother of 5, Trump did post late last night at like 11:43 and then 11:44 the greatness, and then he said on the second post, Whitney Houston pictured with him. And my question that I have for you, Trump said that $1.87 gas before September. Wouldn't Iraq have to revalue before this?
I would absolutely hope so. I mean, what has to happen between now and September to get to under $200 gas has got to, I mean, it's a ton, right? It's all positive, but a ton has to happen. There was another oil refinery blown up in Russia today, or this morning. The powers that be on the dark side, I mean, they are systematically destroying oil refineries and oil reserves all around the world, even in the United States. We've had, and this is what I said on the show today at noon, we can't be so naive to think that this hasn't touched U.S. soil. We have been attacked. We've had oil refineries exploded. We have these big chemical vats that are leaking and evacuating 50,000 people in California. We have another one on the East Coast that is slated to explode. Those are not random events. Those are not, because statistically that can't happen two times within a week, right? On opposite sides of the country. So I absolutely think that's in the works. As far as cheaper gas and things like that, I think Iraq is a part of that, obviously. But I also think that hopefully by September we're going to have some new technologies being unveiled and released. Hydrogen. Do you know how many people have invented hydrogen engines that can run off of a gallon of water and go like 700 miles per gallon in the last 2 decades? There's been like 30. The problem is they've all been killed, or the CIA has deemed them as national security and hidden the patents, because big oil for a long time controlled our country and controlled the world. That is being unseated, in my opinion. So I think we're going to get a lot of really cool things. Hopefully by September, that'd be fantastic.
Hey, brother, another one for you. Who do you think is doing this attacks? And when we think deep state, we got to think a lot deeper than the deep state, because I'm thinking maybe the Mossad.
They're at the top of it. Yes. I mean, so this is what nobody wants to admit, or well, not nobody. Lots of people don't want to admit. The Mossad has been connected to every major catastrophe and every major terrorist attack, probably for the last 30 or 40 years. Like if a bombing in a subway in London, the John F. Kennedy, 9/11, all the stuff we're seeing right now, right? I mean, those planes that are not planes, those trains that derailed and spilled chemicals into all the drinking water. Mossad is tied to all of that because the Mossad is at the top of the three-letter agencies, and they control the CIA, the Department of Defense or the Department of Homeland Security, one or the other, or maybe both, are headquartered in Tel Aviv, which is in Israel, right? How does that even make sense, right? I mean, it doesn't even register, but the CIA is not an approved organization of the United States government. Neither is the FBI. It never got ratified, right? Or it never got, that's not the right word, codified, right? Why is our Federal Reserve headquartered in Puerto Rico? Why is the IRS headquartered in Puerto Rico? Because they're not a part of our government. They're not a part of our country. They are a part of the cabal. They are a part of the deep state. So when you ask who's in charge or who's doing it, they are. But who is they? They are people from all over the world that don't want peace and prosperity. They want war and destruction and control. So
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Dallas. Don't forget to watch President Trump tonight, maybe at 9 p.m. He's got us some good news.
heck yeah, I'm ready.
Thank you, Trump Train. All right, go ahead, Shelly. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Shelly. P211. Your mic is unmuted.
So sorry, that was a mistake. Sorry.
Oh,
Thank
no.
you.
No. You're welcome. No worries. All right, Tennessee Trash. Your turn. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Tennessee Trash. Your mic is unmuted. Okay, here's some over here. Here is a comment / question from Jan Sammy. If you don't go through a title company to make sure there are no liens on the property, how can you be sure that there are no liens unless you get a title policy? Good point.
Well, yeah, and something out of my purview, right? My assumption is that the smart contracts that will all be wrapped into it, right? But again, how do liens? You know what I mean? Like somebody can rummage through your mail, get enough information, go open a credit card in your name, and then file a lien against your home, right? I mean, you had nothing to do with that. How is that even legal, right? So, my assumption is just very much an assumption that it's going to be wrapped into the smart contracts and that it'll be an instantaneous open source kind of transaction. So when you are executing that contract, it's going to, probably with the addition of AI and things like that, it's going to run those checks and those backgrounds and verify that everything is legit and everything is free and open to transact. But I also think that it's going to make it way more difficult for these people to institute these frauds and these schemes that they've done for so many years with open sourcing and with blockchain and with smart contracts is my assumption. But again, that's not necessarily a part of my expertise.
Well, here's a good point from G. Gorion. AI will search record title for liens and encumbrances. That's a good point. So, I mean, we know AI is going to be used.
That would
Yeah,
be my
go ahead.
assumption. No, I was just going to say
Yeah, so
that's why I added that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that, G. Gorion. All right, so let's see, Corey SVX. Is all this stuff really happening, or are we just being told that it's happening? Not much verifiable evidence has been shown to us. Well, be a little bit more specific? Are you talking about in the RV world or just in general? So so we'll wait for him to come back and maybe give us a little bit more specifics. But he has another question here for you, Dallas. Question, Dallas, do you think that the constitutional republic will have to be reaffirmed and gold back will need to be implemented for the RV to go?
I think it's all part of it. Yes. I mean, I think we have to get back to a common law, constitutional law, law of the land structure so that we can go asset backed, right? Because the whole reason the maritime system works is because there's nothing backing up any of our currencies. And it's just, hey, you need more money, print more money. Oh, we need some collateral. So we're going to sell you some junk bonds or some, treasury bonds. And then, then we're going to owe you, but that's what we're going to use as collateral to justify printing more money. So I absolutely think it's a part of it. I think that's part of what has probably delayed this process, to this point, because again, the powers that be, the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers and those kind of people, they do not want to give up their power. Like that is what this is all about. It is about power and control. And it goes way beyond those people, right? I mean, Nancy Pelosi's at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to influential power in the world, right? Or the realm of the cabal. But they don't want to give up powers. That's why this has been such a struggle. And I do understand the previous question because it's one of the things that I struggle with, right? There are claims made. I'm like, cool, prove it, right? I've said it on this, right? Bill Gates was executed in 2017. Awesome. Prove it to me, right? Because there's some dude that looks like Bill Gates that's still buying up farmland and still, putting mRNA vaccines in our arms and releasing, bioengineered ticks and mosquitoes all over the world, right? But I'm hopeful and confident that proof is what is about to come just spilling out. And the same goes on the RV side, right? I mean, I won't bore you with my stories, but I'll share this story. Last July, my wife and I and my family were driving to New Jersey for our annual family reunion, and one of the calls that I have the privilege of being on, I was listening to a recording because I couldn't do it. I couldn't be on the call when it happened, and my wife was in the car listening, and very similar things were said last July that have been said to me over the last 6 months. And my wife, who loves me and supports me, but doesn't necessarily believe much of any of this, especially the currency stuff. She's like, don't you get tired of getting told the same thing week after week? And I'm like, well, yes, it's very frustrating. It's very tiring. It's very, I just get downright angry sometimes, but I'm not in control of it. The people that are sharing the information with me are not in control of it. They're just a part of the system, right? And they're just relaying the information that they have. And was the money supposed to go a month ago? Yes. Was the money supposed to go 3 weeks ago? Yes. Did they try to move the money last week? Yes. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty confident based on the people that I hear and I talk to that they moved money into the central banking system, and then the central banks freaked out and were like, what do we do with this? Oh my God. And then of course some of them tried to do something stupid with it, but now they know, like that's what I'm being told this week is last week they all figured out that this is legit. This is real. This isn't some conspiracy theory, whack job walking into a random bank and asking about dinar, right? I mean, this is a real thing that's taking place, and they got to get on board or they're going to be left out. And so I understand the question. I would love to know more specifically what it was referring to, but I really think you could put it in any one of these categories, right? But it does feel and seem that some of the a lot of the corruption is being, dealt with, and at least if nothing else, it's being exposed so that they know where it is, right? Like, oh, okay, when the money goes missing, oh, yep, it went missing. All right, retract that, undo that transaction, and let's go find out who clicked enter. So I do see positivity in it.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, let's see. Go ahead, Linda Hendrickson. Your mic is unmuted.
Hi guys.
My question for Dallas is, we have an appointment actually with an attorney to go and put our home with the kids' name on it too. So if something happens to my husband and I, do we need to keep that appointment, or is?
Yeah, no. It's like if you were going to ask me, like, I'm going to take a vacation next week, should I go? My answer is always going to be yes. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
live your life, right? What I am confident in, and I'll share this with you guys. This is not going to be a breakneck thing, right? We get, you get a notification and you have 24 hours to schedule your appointment and you have 3 days to keep it. Like, you're not going to have 30 days. I mean, it's the whole Nassar thing, right? I mean, the whole Nassar rollout. I'm hearing that it's a 10-year rollout, right? So it's not going to be flip the switch and all of a sudden everything changes. It's going to be flip the switch and then a few things change, and then flip another switch and a few more things change. So yes, do what you need to do to secure your property and your assets. And then the cool thing is that it can always be amended. It can always be redone. You know what I mean? So
Right.
absolutely keep the meeting and just live life until we know what direction to go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. All right, go
Thank
ahead. Go ahead, Tennessee Trash. Your mic is unmuted. Let's try it again. Go ahead, Tennessee Trash.
Oh, I saw him for a second.
Go ahead, Tennessee Trash. Hit the blue mic.
I did.
Go
There
ahead.
we go. There we go. I tried earlier and I couldn't ever get it to turn green, but I have a little statement that I believe that we've never done this before, and we've gotten a lot of people that have gotten information and they've assimilated it. Some of the information is based on people's opinion, and some of the information is based on fact. Most of it's very little fact, but I do believe that I've been waiting for years, just like Dallas, and I believe that it is coming. And I know that we fight non-believers, but I believe that even if it's 3 cents on the dollar for Venezuela, we're going to be wealthy if we
Amen.
purchase the money that we assume. I do think that there are people that get discouraged and start saying things. I do think they're scared that us before the internet people scare them that we would come up with wealth and able to change. And I was hoping to change things in my life and in my state to make people that are poor and without, to help people to do what God has called all of us to do. And I understand that we're supposed to be behind a good white hat leadership, but I still think that we have the same problem with greed and fear. I thank you, Dallas. I thank you, Jen. I appreciate everything you do. I do believe that the Venezuela has gone from maybe 29 cents up to 51 since America has stepped in. But I think 3 cents will be sufficient to do the things that we want to do to help people. The more we get, the more people we can help.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tennessee Trash. Go ahead, Dallas.
I agree with everything you just said, brother. I think that it's imperative for us to have not even realistic expectations, but just grateful expectations, right? Because if you go in expecting one thing and they tell you something else, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I might get a little upset if I go in and I'm expecting 5 and they tell me 150, right? Or $2. I'm like, man, I could do so much more with an extra $3 per dollar. But do the math. Like, taking an old school plain calculator, right, and just multiply 500 million times 3 cents. Like it's a pretty big number, right? So I'm imploring for everyone to just have grateful expectations, not even realistic expectations, because the reality is we don't know what's coming, right? I mean, we don't know what the rates are. I'm sure, I'm surprised somebody hasn't asked already, but I mean, I know the rates that I've been told. I know the rates that I've gathered over the years, but the reality is until it happens, we don't know, right? I mean, the V&D went up 10 cents a year or 2 years ago, I think. Like, holy guacamole. If you had a bunch of dong just at 10 cents, that's a huge increase, right? Because it only costs you $35 to buy a million. If it goes up by 10 cents a dong, that's a big increase, right? So I just really encourage and employ everybody to have grateful expectations, because it's going to be more money than we are used to, and probably in most cases more money than we've ever had ever in our lives. And the kicker is there's going to be ample opportunities to grow money after the fact, right? And the market is going to be restructured. It's going to be fair and equitable to everyone. The manipulation is going to be removed. We're going to have all these new technologies, and with new technologies come new companies, and with new companies come new products, and with new products comes growth, right? And capital and revenue, and we're going to be able to take part in all those companies. So even if you don't come out with hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe if you don't come out with tens of millions of dollars, you'll be able to generate what's called generational changing wealth on the back end of this thing. And that's what I encourage people to focus on, is the positivity and the positive aspects and the positive potential on the back end of this, not necessarily on the front end, even though I still think it's going to be absolutely life-changing and probably generational changing on the front end also.
Amen. Amen. 10% of something is better than nothing, right? I mean, we'll have more money than what we had yesterday. So yeah, grateful for anything that we get for sure. Thank you, Dallas. Thank you, Tennessee Trash. Here's one on Rumble from 17 Raccoons. Question for Dallas: is Trump referring to Fort Knox to make people aware that the 8,100 metric tons of gold is valued at $42.22? Is that right? Instead of the market value, which is worth 11 billion instead of 1.7 trillion. Wait, is that $42.22 per ounce? Yeah. Okay.
That is currently still what our government values an ounce of gold at, even though it's up over 4,000. It's almost 5,000. Our government, when they took us off the gold standard, they froze it at whatever that number is, 42.50 or 42.60 or whatever. Like, think about the how asinine that is. That our government is still using that calibration to value our currency. And then we wonder why our dollar's worth nothing. Well, that's why, right? It's not backed up by gold. And if it was, it's not even backed up by fair market value. So I don't know if that's why he's drawing attention to Fort Knox. I've said it. I think one of two things is about to happen. They're going to throw open that door and it's going to be empty. And then there's going to be a whole lot of heads that roll. Or he's going to throw it open, and then we're going to see all that gold. And he's going to say, you know what's cool? Is this is worth, to that point, it's trillions, not billions, right? So.
Thank you, Dallas. Thank you, 17 Raccoons. That's cool. Cool name. 17 Raccoons. All right, go ahead, Nancy. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Nancy, over here on Telegram. Your mic is unmuted. All right, Nancy, hit the blue button. Do you have a question for Dallas? You requested a mic. Hello.
Yes.
All right, I guess not. Okay, let me see if I have anything. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought it was her.
Oh, no. Let me see if I have any more over here on Rumble. Nope, I don't see any. But go ahead if you want to say anything else, Dallas. Yeah, I mean, if nobody wants to come up and ask questions, then you know, it's up to you if you want to continue or what, if you have more to say, whatever you want to do, Dallas. You got to go get your kiddos, or are they with you already?
No, they're well. One of them is home. We have my oldest daughter got asked to be on the varsity basketball team. Their summer travel team for basketball. So we have varsity games tonight. But super excited, super stoked. She's going to be a freshman, and she's the youngest freshman on the squad. But they had 2 games last week. They won one and lost one. But the varsity team last year only won like 3 games all season. So pretty stoked about the opportunity. But you know, I don't know what else there is to say. I'm excited about this week. I'm hoping to hear some confirmation. And like I said, you know, I've already asked, you know, permission from one particular group to, you know, when this is verifiable and validatable. I don't know if that's the word. I think I just made it up. But when I can verify and validate that it is a legitimate option for this RV process, then I've already asked permission, and I'm just waiting on some details and specifics. But you will be one of the platforms, and it might be one of those things where instead of 2 weeks, I call you on Tuesday and be like, "All right, we got to do it. Let's go." Right? But
Yeah.
but if not, I'll be back in 2 weeks. Actually,
Oh, come on now.
well, so this
Let's
is the
see.
kicker, right? I'm supposed to start a new job on the 15th, which is, you know, 2 weeks to be the 15th, 16th, 17th.
Yeah, 17th.
So I don't want to start the new job, and I'm hoping, because I asked and they wouldn't give me a specific answer, but I'll reference the event that I was asked to attend July 3rd, which I would need money to get to. So I'm hoping that here in the next few days we get some hard confirmation, and I won't have to start the new job on the 15th. But if I do, then we'll just have to push this back, or you know, find a different time. But I'll definitely be back in 2 weeks.
All right. So will it be more like a kind of like with your other job? We were doing it, I think, before you went to your new gig, or when you got out of your new gig?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be in the office training for about 6 months.
Okay.
So my guess is it'll be more of kind of a 9 to 5 gig. But I'm meeting with the training manager tomorrow, so I'll have a better idea after tomorrow morning, and I'll reach out to you and touch base with you.
All right, cool. Sounds good. All right, everybody, you heard it from Dallas right there. He will be back in 2 weeks. The time we'll figure out the time. Will it be about the same time, depending on what's going on? Same time, 3 p.m.
No, probably later.
Okay.
I mean, it would probably have to be. I'm guessing 5, but like I said, let me get some more details tomorrow, and
Okay.
then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we can do it, you know, like when you get off of work if you want. So no worries, we'll figure it out. All right, everybody, you heard it first. Dallas will be back here in 2 weeks. Maybe a time change, but we'll see you guys back if you just want to listen to Dallas. Otherwise, come back in 50 minutes. I'm gonna have Lance Schulter on from Ascent Nutrition talking about other alternative supplements, all natural, that you can even give your family pets. So with that, everybody, God bless. And Dallas, thank you so much, my friend. It's good seeing you again. We love you. God bless you. And we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.